Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. This is the Paddock Podcast, and today we are going to be talking about Manchester United's make or break week, or 2 weeks really, isn't it? Between now and the end of the season, it could go from being the best season in a decade to worse than the one that saw Louis van Gaal get sacked. Now, that is literally the situation Manchester United are currently in. I'm joined by Jay Marty. How you doing, mate?
I'm good, bro. I'm really good, yeah. You were talking about this before, and you make a great point because at the minute, things are good, right? I think it put into context of the expectation of Eric Ten Hag when he came in, we were speaking ahead of the season, and we all said, pretty much me, you, Steve McCullough, and almost everyone we had on the channel during that summer and around the beginning of the season, top four in a trophy is the target. Yeah, that's what we sort of not just expect but hope for. Yeah, I think a lot of us would have said if we just get top four, we'll stomach that. Yeah. There may even be one or two just said, just get a trophy. Yeah. But top four in a trophy was like, if he achieves that, he's done well. So he's done that, almost. I mean, we're almost there with top four. I know we've still got to get 1 point from our next two home games. Yeah. But if we can get two trophies and top four, and in the process of getting one of those trophies, beat Manchester City in a cup final, stopping them winning a treble, then that would be phenomenal. That would be like ridiculously good for a first season compared to how we were doing last season. We were struggling. Cup competitions were dreadful. In the league, we were just as bad. Everyone was at a sort of low ebb. Eric and I came in, and you're thinking maybe it's going to take him a little while to sort of fix this mess. Then we had the issue of the start we had, where we lost at home to Brighton, lost at home away at Brentford, battered away at Brentford, and you're like, this could be a bit of a disaster. And yet to come back the way he has, to get that top four, to get a trophy, I just think it is very good. But there's potential. I don't think there's potential for this season to be awful. I just can't see us not winning one of our last two games. I just can't. There is potential though for this season to be amazing, because I think winning those two trophies and beating City in that cup final, beating City in the FA Cup final for the first time ever would be unreal. Doing it while stopping them winning the treble. Yes, it's annoying that they could go on and win the Champions League, but to still be the only team left that have done the treble in England would be great. And also that thing of expectation to reality, like Liverpool last season, they won two trophies and finished a whisker away from winning the league in second. That's not a great season, but a good season. And it was like, as United fans, we could almost laugh at their season. Do you know what I mean? And Liverpool fans and Liverpool players were gutted at only winning two trophies, because going into the last week of the season, they could have won a quadruple. So obviously it would be frustrating and horrendous for City to win the Champions League, which I think they will. If we stop them winning the treble, there will be that air of this is nowhere near as bad as it could have been. Yeah. And also, if we weren't, if they were already well out of the FA Cup, I think that they could win the Premier League and the Champions League, and it feel a lot worse than this if we stop them, if you know what I mean. It'll almost be like they only won the Champions League in the Premier League. That's not bad. Whereas otherwise, it'd be like, fucking hell, they finally won the Champions League. We can turn this whole situation into a relatively, obviously not quite, but a relatively positive one for United, where we've had a good year by our standards and we've stopped them equaling our best ever year. That could actually be pretty good. Do you think? Obviously, if United don't get top four now, then we don't deserve it, because you can't, Fulham and Chelsea at home, or Chelsea and Fulham at home as your last two games. If you don't get a single point from either of those two, that would be just almost unthinkable. But if we just do think about it for a minute, United started the season with two losses in a row. If we were to end the season with two losses in a row, now I don't want to focus on this because I think it is so unlikely. Where would that leave things? Let's say we did lose these next three games. Liverpool pip us to top four, City pip us to the FA Cup and win a treble. I genuinely think that would. I think that could completely derail things. I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't think it will happen, but it can still happen. Do you know what I mean? That's a possibility. It'd be difficult if that happened, and I don't think it will. Yeah. To keep the faith with Eric Ten Hag.
Would it?
Yeah. It would be difficult. I'm not saying I'd turn on the manager and go, he's got to go, but it would be hard. Yeah. The hardest one in all of that, believe it or not, would be the Scousers getting top 4.
Yeah.
Getting beat off City in the FA Cup final, I kind of expect
it could happen
because they're the better team. They've got a bigger squad. Even with the Champions League final on the horizon, they can still rotate.
They've only got one player injured as well.
Yeah, they rotated the other day against Chelsea, where they practically played the Rezzies.
Yeah.
And I know Chelsea are pretty poor this season, but they never got out of second gear, and they still won it reasonably comfortably. And they brought on some of the big guns towards the end. I mean, they've just got a huge squad of quality. We haven't got that. When you look at our bench sometimes, you look at it and you're going, okay, if we need someone to affect change in this game, who've we got? There's Garnacho when he's fit, great option. Then you go, there's Alanga.
Fred.
Alanga hasn't scored in about 2 years.
Yeah.
I'm probably being a bit OTT there. It's not 2 years, is it? It's, what is it?
18 months.
18 months. Sorry, yeah. So it's not that.
When was it? January or February last year when we played Atletico?
So 14, 15 months. So it's poor in terms of his return. I do like the kid, but we've got to be honest. He's nowhere near the level that you need. Other than that, Fred, depends what Fred you're going to get. McTominay, ditto, and Vegas.
Yeah.
There's no one there where you go, They've got Alvarez, because they had a benchmark, so we'll talk about him. Alvarez comes in, he's got 20 goals. Foden comes in, he's like one of the golden boys of English football. He's won 5 Premier Leagues at the age of 23 or whatever he is. I mean,
usually Mahrez is on the bench at the minute as well.
There's another one there.
Then you've probably got a Calvin Phillips on the bench.
One of someone like Bernardo Silva or Gundogan or another midfielder who just would walk in at any team in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, it's frustrating.
Yeah, and then they will have 2 of Laporte, Diaz, Akanji, Ake and Stones. 2 of them are on the bench.
Yeah.
It's
so you
just
look at
not
that
really comparable to anyone, is it?
It's a different world from where we're at. Yeah. So the FA Cup final is one thing. We lose that, you can stomach it. It'll be difficult to stomach, but you can do. But if we were to lose the last 2 home games and let Liverpool into the top 4, I don't know. I've got to be honest. I just don't know how you can sort of rationalise that.
No.
How you can go, that it happens. Especially when you look at the level of opposition we've got in those 2 games. If we were playing City and Liverpool in the last 2 home games, you'd go, okay, that's difficult.
Yeah.
Chelsea and Fulham, no disrespect to those 2 sides, but the sort of mid-table-ish for a reason.
Can Fulham still get European football of any description? Chelsea are just absolutely sort of cast adrift of anything, aren't they? They can't get relegated. No chance of European football. They've got literally nothing to play for. Can Fulham get...
Centre are 10th at the minute.
Right. How
with
far?
1 game to play.
Yeah.
And they can't get any higher than that.
Right.
No matter what
so
happens.
they're both just in that centre of the river. You know, they're not getting to shore either side. Like, surely United can just... We need 1 point. And it is mad because, I agree with you. I think because it's so unlikely you can say it. We're not sat here saying, Ten Hag's going to get sacked, because I don't think it will happen. I don't think anyone does. But if we were to lose those 2 games, like you said, just because of how things change and how the media and social media affect the sort of the conversation around a manager, I genuinely think with new owners, we saw what Todd Boehly did at Chelsea, there is a situation where he doesn't end next season as United's manager. Do you know what I mean? If we were to get 5th place after everything that's happened this season. However, on the other side of it, if we finish 4th and win the FA Cup, it is comfortably United's best season since 2013. Like, not even close. I think already it will be. We haven't finished top 4 and won a trophy in the same season since Sir Alex left. So despite the fact that it's only the League Cup, that's still better than an FA Cup and 6th, I would say. And it's better than a Europa League and a Carabao Cup. And was it 5th under Jose? Or 6th again?
Yeah.
We won 2 trophies that year. But, personally, I think I would prefer top 4 and a trophy than not top 4 and 2 minor trophies. Would you agree with that? Or do you think that's a sort of toss of a coin?
Yeah, no, you want Champions League football next season. You do. That's the thing. It's like we should be in that competition. The Europa League just doesn't hit the same way. No. And it can affect you. I know it's not the be-all and end-all. We still had a very good summer. That summer where we brought in Mkhitaryan, Pogba, Zlatan, and we weren't in the Champions League. But some players will look at it. Like, for example, if you're trying to get Harry Kane and you're going to come to United, we've got Europa League football next season, and he's 30, or he will be when the time of the season starts, it's not that attractive, is it?
No.
You think, I'm 30 years old and I'm not going to be in the Champions League, and the one big move that I make. You need Champions League football. I'm just sorry I've seemed a little distracted. I'm just trying to find, I've done a Google. I can't find the last time United lost 2 home games in succession in the league. I think actually, I might know this one. I think it might be Manchester United season, and I think it's 2000 to 2001.
The fact that you might know that is genuinely astonishing.
Because there was a season.
Surely we've lost 2 home league games in 20
years. You know
years.
what, I'm wrong. It was because I knew we lost a load of games at the end of the season because Fergie, we'd won the league. And Fergie didn't care about points records and all these other sort of frivolous nonsense that everyone seems to care about. When Fergie won the league, he started playing the kids.
Yeah.
Right, it's your chance now. Get some games under your belt and show us whether you're ready for next season or whatever. So in 2001, we won the league by April. I think we broke the record for the earliest we've won it. So for Derby, Southampton and Spurs, he rotated and we lost all them games, but only one of them was at home. Right. It's the Derby one that I remember in particular because it was like I think they were really struggling and he just did that thing where he was just like he wasn't bothered. He was just like.
Sure, did we not lose 2 home games in a row under Solskjaer at any point? Back when the away record was keeping us afloat.
That's a good point. Yeah, do you know what? In Solskjaer, it must be under. Yeah, do you know what was that around the
Burnley time?
No, I'm thinking of City Liverpool. Were those back-to-back games under Ole? Yeah, I forgot about that because I'd sort of erased them both from my memory. But you might have a point there, bro. Where let me just have a quick look here. I know this isn't great.
No, we'll go. Well, I'll carry on because
you're right. Nailed it. The back-to-back home games were Liverpool and City. So we lost 5-0 to Liverpool. In fact, we lost 5-0 to Liverpool and then 2-0 to City. So those were back-to-back. We had Spurs away in the middle of it. But in terms of actual back-to-back games and them both being at home, I can't find one.
Yeah.
Also as well, that was as bad as I've seen Manchester United playing around that time.
And this season, I think United have gone, I think it's either 13 or 14 wins, 4 draws, 1 loss at home. So our home form has been sort of almost title contention worthy. If we could replicate that away, I would be stunned if we don't get top 4. 1 point from 2, and that's assuming Liverpool win their last game, which we think they will, but you don't know, do you? You know, they could have easily lost that game the other day.
It'd be the most amazing capitulation back because when it's happened before with United teams, you've seen it coming. Yeah. Like you saw the wheels coming off under Ole. Yeah. You saw the wheels never really being put on under Ralph Rangnick. We've seen it in the past under Van Gaal. There was a time, in fact, there might have been a time under Van Gaal. I don't know. I think we lost more away games, but I'll have to double check. But you could see it unravelling. With Ten Hag, we've just been doing really well. Yeah. I think the only issue we've had is against the top teams away from home. So if these games if Chelsea were flying and Fulham were flying and they were both away, then you go, okay, we might have an issue here. But at home against 2 teams, one who've done better than everyone expected, done well, another team who have been the worst Chelsea team I've ever seen. And I know people might go, well, under Jose before he got sacked, they were lining 15th, whatever. But they still rallied and ended that season in the top half.
Exactly. Was it 10th or whatever it was?
And fixed them.
Yeah.
This team has just got worse as the season's progressed. They were poor. They were patchy under Tuchel, pretty poor under Potter. Abysmal.
They've literally been so bad that Frank Lampard might have to stop being a football manager.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean that as like, isn't it funny taking the piss out? Genuinely, Frank Lampard's Everton and Frank Lampard's Chelsea sort of tenures this season might be the end of him.
If he was on the stock market and you bought stocks in Frank Lampard, done. At the beginning of the season, they're worthless now.
You just declare bankruptcy.
Yeah, you can't give them away.
Covered in your own piss in a doorway.
You cannot sell them.
The pain away.
Exactly.
Lamp stock could not be sold.
It's crashed.
Lamp coin.
You may as well go and buy stocks in Enron.
Yeah.
They're like, it's over.
Lamp coin is at an all-time low.
I've got some super chats and some comments, and we'll get into other stuff. Man United scout, who's been a member of the first team, our members for 33 months, says, I've done a day to drive this season. We are yet to win a game when trailing at half-time. We've also only lost 2 halves of football at home all season. That's very interesting. Little stat there.
We had to win a game we were losing at half time. I mean, I guess he's right.
Yeah,
but that don't feel right, does it?
I have no reason to question him. Jamie Burton says, get top 4 versus Chelsea, give minutes to others versus Fulham. Would love Butland to get a debut. Grew up in the same area as me in Bristol. I always love little stories like that. I know this guy. Let's give him a shot. And yeah, it'd be good to see. It'd be good to rest players ahead of the FA Cup final, to be honest with you, because that's my worry. Is if we lost to Chelsea at home, then you go in that Fulham game, you need a win. You've got to play your strongest team because everything's on that, innit? So it's just not ideal with that game on the 3rd as well. Glenn F says, I know you weren't asking me, but I think I would take losing the FA Cup if Inter win the Champions League. There's a good question. Would you take losing the FA Cup if Inter won the Champions League?
So, but if I don't take that, then we'll just leave it up to how it is. Like, we might win it or we might not. So what?
No. Would you lose the FA Cup final?
Yes.
Now, someone offered it you.
Yes.
The devil offered it you.
Ooh.
Said, listen, Joe
Listen,
Smith.
devil boy.
Devil boy.
That's what he calls me.
Yep.
I'm his little side.
I'll do a deal with you.
Go on then.
You lose the FA Cup final, but City lose the Champions League final.
And then I say back to him, which is what I've already asked. What is the alternative, Mr. Devil?
You leave it to
play out as it may.
Yeah.
So they could lose them both.
Yeah. Or would you? Yeah.
No, fuck it. I'll take it. I hate that I'm saying this. I'd take it.
Yeah.
Would
you?
The
flip side is
because that way, not only are they not winning the treble, they're also not getting their first Champions League for definite.
Yeah.
But then we haven't won. Oh shit! Jen.
Would you take winning the FA Cup final
if it meant they won?
Well,
there you go then.
League.
I'll answer your question with a question. They are now the two parameters.
Yeah.
You get to win the FA Cup, but they win the Champions League, or we lose and they lose.
Yeah. I'd win.
Yeah, me too.
You don't know how to twist that narrative as well. Like, well done, you've won a Champions League. You've won one fewer than Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
You've won the same as Villa. Yeah. Well done.
Well done. You've won the same amount of trophies as us this season.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, your league has only got one word in it. Ours has got league and cup in it, which means ours is twice as good.
Like, beating City in the FA Cup final, stopping them in the treble. Oh, my God.
Yeah. Would you take it the other way, though, where it's just open to the way it's going to be? Or you can guarantee that City will lose that final, but they beat us?
I've drank the Kool-Aid, I think we'll do him in the final.
Fucking hell.
I do.
Good lad.
I don't know why. Maybe it's me heart talking. I think it is. I can actually feel it beating.
You're right.
Because I'm like, the more I think about it, I'm like, oh.
Your arm isn't aching, is it?
No, don't worry. I'm not about to have a stroke.
Good lad.
But I think we can. I think we'll do him.
Good lad.
I do. I think Ten Hag will step up. He steps up when you need him, Ten Hag. Really big times.
Yeah.
When it's been like this.
Like the Sevilla semi-final.
The Sevilla. No.
Oh.
Like
no.
I wish it was the same. Wasn't it the quarter?
The Sevilla quarter-final.
Like, that wasn't a seminal moment.
It wasn't
really.
A big moment, was it? No.
Let's have it right.
Yeah.
That Champions League, Europa League quarter-final wasn't the be-all and end-all. No. The Liverpool game at home could have been the end of his career at United.
It could have gone full Frank de Boer, couldn't it?
Yeah.
If we'd have lost the first three games in a row,
and then you lose at home to the Scousers, you might be getting your P45 sunshine. But he steps up and he got that win. He's done it a few times this season where you think, this is it. Getting that first trophy. The Carabao Cup final at Newcastle could have gone wrong.
Yep.
You need that win. You need to get your first trophy. He did it.
Yeah. The thing
City
with him
at home is another one.
He's ending all of the comparisons to all the recent failed managers. Like the main criticism of Ole was that he didn't have that sort of killer instinct to get you over the line in a final or in a trophy, semi-final FC and all that, losing to Villarreal in the final. Ten Hag wins his trophy first time.
Yeah.
You know, we were the better team. We should have won, and we did.
Comfortable.
Like the main criticism of Jose was you either go for one or the other. We sacked it all in the Premier League, basically, you know, who cares, from Christmas onwards to win the Europa League. Yes, we got it, but it was sort of seen that we couldn't do both. The next year, we went for the league, fell short, finished second, and didn't win any trophies. Ten Hag he's won a trophy, and we're probably going to get top four. Do you know what I mean? Like, these are the things that they were all sort of criticised for. And also, Jose was criticised for, slagging off the players, making it all about him. The way Ten Hag talks in press conferences, it's all about us as a team. It's about the unit. He brings in some of that sort of Ole arm around the shoulder stuff, but then he's got that kind of fierce, he's definitely the leader feeling that Jose had. I think he's doing well to separate himself from the previous managers we've had, and I think he needs to keep doing that. Before we carry on, Jay.
Go on. Talk to me.
Have you seen the weather recently, by the way?
Yeah,
Have you seen? So for the next 10 days, 21, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 18, 19, 20, 22. That's how many degrees it's going to be outside.
Is that warm? Yeah.
That's very deliciously warm. It's T-shirts, it's shorts, it's cardigans weather, right? And in this sort of weather, Jay, you need Manscaped.
Yes.
Yeah?
You do.
The global leaders in below-the-belt grooming. Yeah, yes. They've got some of the best tools for the spring cleaning that goes on inside your pants. Yeah? That's just over there, other side of the table.
To the side of the table.
In Jay's pants. There we go. And if you use the code DEVILS20, you will get 20% off and free shipping with Manscaped. Now, Jay, tell me why Manscaped is different to all these other old sort of nasty-ass trimmers that you might have used in the past.
Well, for starters, you got to look at how many people use Manscaped.
Dozens.
Right. Millions.
Oof.
8 million men worldwide.
That's how many dozens is that?
Exactly. Well, I used to groom myself with a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Do you know how many men do that? Only
Thousands.
me. Well, when I asked in A&E, there was only me in there that was,
well,
in the emergency room because of what they'd done to themselves trying to shave the pubes with a lawnmower.
And you used to use a lawnmower.
That makes me think it's quite rare.
You know what I used to do?
Go on.
I'd pop the old chap in an empty tuna can.
Yeah.
And then just lower the whole business into a tank of piranhas.
And how many people do that?
More than you'd think.
Exactly.
Yeah, the forums were very detailed, but not 8 million.
Not 8 million. That's
and it's a dwindling number every day.
8 million trust Manscaped for a reason. And I'll give you the reasons. Because when you shop with Manscaped, not only do you get 20% off and free shipping when you're using our code, also you're getting the performance package that's got the lawnmower 4.0, not an actual lawnmower like what I used, the lawnmower technology, the proper stuff that you want, 4.0. Yeah. It's got the crop preserver, the crop toner, the shed travel bag. So not only does it look the part and smell the part, you've got somewhere to put it. Yeah,
and you've got the weed whacker as well, the ear and nose hair trimmer.
Men of my
the great
age
thing about
need
the performance package, it's like a one-stop shop for everything you need to build and maintain the ultimate spring-summer bod.
And also you've got the boxer briefs.
Oh, and the rest.
Anti-chafing technology.
How was your anti-chafing? She all right?
She's all right.
I saw her recently, actually.
She's on tablets.
Very red.
Yeah, it's a side effect from the tablets.
It's the chafing.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But you won't have any chafing with Manscaped skin-safe technology, will you?
Do you know what? I even say the anti-chafing when you're not here.
Do you?
I say if Joe was here, he'd say, how is your anti-chafing? Anyway, you get all that.
Yeah.
Free shipping, 20% off. If you go and check out the code, or go and use the code, DEVILS20. There's a link in the description. Manscaped got you covered this spring as we look ahead to summer as well. As it gets warmer, they have got you covered. The leaders in the below the waist grooming. Your balls will thank you. And a big thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this podcast.
2 words for you, Jay. Mohamed Kudus.
2 words. Tell me more.
Well, he's an Ajax attacking midfielder. He can sort of, he pops up in those attacking areas. You know, sort of Bruno Fernandes, where yes, you're the attacking midfielder, but playing off the right, coming in as that sort of false 9 at times. Plays for Ajax. David Ornstein today has been talking about Manchester United's interest in him. He said, exclusive, Mohamed Kudus declined 1-year extension at Ajax in April and informed the club of his wish to leave. Contract till 2025, so 2 years after this year. And Ajax tend to sell at this stage, likely to take around 40 million. Likes of Arsenal, Manchester United and Newcastle tracking the 22-year-old, although not a current top target. Do you know much about him? What are you laughing at?
Because I said to you, here's 2 words. I've got 2 words for you. Tell me more. There's a few people saying that's 3 words, Jay.
You're joking. You can't even count to
Even
2.
Ross Murphy. Come on, bro. How long have you been watching this podcast for? Let me just get through some super chats that I didn't have time for before, and then I'll get into this Kudus thing.
I want to hear about Kudus.
Yep. Fergal McClement says, is it possible for Martinez to be back for the final?
Ten Hag has said not, so barring that being some sort of like tactic, I think no.
Tina Tellefson, Totoko has been a member of the academy for 9 months, says Arsenal was happy to go out of the Europa League and they told the people it was a blessing and they, on top of the league, that they lost. Haha, funny. I know. Well, I've added the haha funny bit. Patrick Cassidy, who's been a member of the academy for 29 months, says up the paddock.
Oui.
Yeah, so this kid from Ajax, can I shock you?
No. Oh, yes.
I don't know anything about him.
You haven't managed to garner much interest in him. That's because he's from Ghana, so there's a little hint.
No,
for you.
I mean, I can look at the stats.
Show me the stats.
He's obviously, I mean, he's got 7 goals for Ghana, which is good. And like, he's got 18 goals this season in 40 games for Ajax, which is a good return. Yeah. I don't know if he's the answer, but you were talking about how if we are going to get a striker, I know this kid's an attacking midfielder, if we're going to get a striker, we get Harry Kane, and then we can get another one who's cheaper if we have a scouting system. Because I've always said, get 2 strikers in the summer. I've been saying that, and you've sort of worked out how that can be done. So, if we are going to do that, and if we are going to buy Kim Min-jae, which everyone seems certain we are.
Which we'll talk about that bit more in a minute as well.
And we are potentially going to bring in another goalkeeper. Have we got budget, room, scope for this kid?
Yeah, I think, as David Ornstein said there, not current top target, which means he's kind of on the radar along sort of a pretty hefty list of others usually, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's one of them, I think, because of the links with Ten Hag. I don't know how long he's been at Ajax for, if you could just sort of check that out.
I'm just looking now. He's been there for 3 years.
So he's obviously well within the Ten Hag kind of remit. He'll know about him. He'll know roughly how good he is.
He's had 2 seasons under Ten Hag.
And I think this season, I think, is his best or sort of most productive season.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
So maybe he doesn't quite know the extent of his quality, but he'll certainly know the talent and the type of player that he is. And I don't just want us to only buy from Ajax now, because if we bought all of their players, we would be worse than we are now. Do you know what I mean? We're better than Ajax, but he will know the gems. And I know for a fact that what we've got out of Lisandro Martinez far and away exceeded my expectations of him and that transfer, because for 45 or 50 million quid, whatever it is, I think we've got one of the best centre backs in the league. So if Kudus could be a similar kind of star, then obviously I'm all for it. And I think that link to Ten Hag is something that makes me think, right, if we get him, I'm right behind it. Do you know what I mean? So we'll have to wait and see. But interesting and worth pointing out that United are interested or certainly tracking
you make
Kudus there.
A great point there about the whole Ajax thing and Erik Ten Hag. And I remember Carl Anker when we had him on once. Not recently, we had him on the other day. He was fantastic. Go and check him out when he was on the Brew if you've not done. But I remember him, I think that in the previous time he came on a podcast, or one of the podcasts, talking about how Ten Hag needs help and reining in a little bit, and you shouldn't just let him do everything. And he's the one who's saying all the players we sign and then we go with that. Now, you mentioned there about Ajax and buying players from Ajax, and now that at some point could be detrimental, because you just you're bringing in players that are good enough for the Eredivisie.
Yeah.
Some of them are good enough for the Premier League, like Lisandro Martinez obviously is, and I'd argue Anthony is as well. Yeah. And even Tyrell Malacia as a sort of rotation. But you're going to get to a point where some of them aren't. Yeah. Some of them aren't good enough to win your titles. No. If that's what we're aiming for. I don't think you can just keep buying players from Ajax. No. There has to be a limit where you go, right, this kid's probably not up to it. And also, he wasn't always playing under Erik Ten Hag. He was in the team, he was quite a few appearances, but he wasn't.
And then this season, when he's playing more often, they've finished third, I think.
Yeah.
So it's
so I just think that whilst there's nothing wrong with buying players from the Dutch league, and we've done very well with it under Erik Ten Hag, there should be some sort of limit here. I don't think we should just be just keep getting all these Dutch players in, because Erik Ten Hag knows him, and he knows they can fit his system and they'll be good enough to challenge. Because now you've got to raise the bar a little bit as well. And I know this might sound like a bit of a contradiction, because we could have less money than we had last summer, but the next stage in United's sort of evolution under Ten Hag has to be challenging for a title. I'm not saying we're going to win a title next season. I don't think we will. But I want us to be in that conversation by at least the end of March, beginning of April. Yeah, that's sort of, United are second or third, and within sort of 7 or 8 points of the top team. Again, I don't expect us to win it. And that only happens if you buy some real quality. And I just don't know. I think that someone like this kid, he might be good enough, he might not be, but I'm a little bit wary when it's like players that you don't know a lot about. It's another Dutch player, and again, I'm not saying he can't be. It's just, it does concern me a little bit. Yep, Man United Scout says more stats. We average 5.3 possession, 5.3% possession less in the second half at home than the first. Concede 1.8 more shots, make 39 less passes, have 1 less shot average. Okay,
it's interesting, isn't it? I think that probably suggests that a lot of the time we're in the lead going into the second half and allow a bit of pressure against us, I would guess. Do you know what I mean? Sort of sitting back a little bit. But maybe we need to find a way to not allow that drop off. I don't know whether, look at sort of Arsenal and City and Newcastle. I wonder whether they've had the same thing, where you allow a little bit more possession second half because you're 1 or 2 goals up and the opposition might as well go for it. Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean you create less chances or less likely to score goals.
Context is key with things like that.
Good to know, though.
Yeah, it's interesting to know.
Yeah, if you've got any more, get them sent in.
If you are sort of chasing a game and you've not got much of the ball, then that's a bit of a worry. If you've got a comfortable lead, or if you're winning and you're quite happy, like you say, to let some of them have the ball, then it's not that disgusting, is it really? No. It's not that worrying, to be honest with you. Who else have you got on your list?
Kim Min-jae. More updates today from the Daily Mail saying that the move is practically done.
This seems like it's got legs. Go
It
on.
does, yeah. 26-year-old is thought to be looking for a house to live in. Oh, interesting. What a radical concept that is, Jay.
A house to live in?
He's looking for a house to live in.
Rather than just to look at?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you just live in a big sort of plastic tub full of Lego, don't you?
Exactly. A house?
Yeah.
That's crazy talk.
Yeah, exactly. And all you eat is omelettes. Yeah. What's that about?
Mushroom omelettes and that.
He loves them.
Sick.
That's all he eats with his little Lego box.
Living my Lego box eating mushroom omelettes.
Yeah, that's his life. So he's looking for a house to live in, unlike Jay, so that he can be part of Eric Ten Hag's squad next season, because Ten Hag has got a strictly you have to live in a house policy as they look to build on probable Champions League qualification and making the finals of both domestic trophies. That is, I don't know, they've put that in sort of quotes, they're practically done. Do you see this getting done? Is it odd to you that the first position we are so heavily linked with is a centre-back?
It is a little bit. Doesn't seem like a priority to me. But then you go back to last summer, and it wasn't necessarily a priority for a centre-back. Yeah, Martinez was kind of the main one he went for straight away.
Yeah, well, it was Timber to start with, wasn't it? And then switch.
Yeah.
But like that position was the first thing.
And a lot of you looking at it going, we need a midfielder. Midfielder's got to be the key. We desperately need a midfielder. And he was like, no, we need a defense. Like, this guy's my sort of priority. So it is a little bit surprising. But again, it could be a signing that really benefits the team, because you look at it and you think, okay, Varane has still got slight injury issues there. Obviously, Martinez doesn't tend to get injured, even though he has been injured recently, which is a bit of an outlier. But if you can get someone in who's top drawer, and then you've got Lindelof, you've got Kim Min-jae, you've got Varane and Martinez. You spoke earlier about City having Akanji, having Nathan Ake, having Laporte, having
Diaz.
Stones, having Diaz. And then you've got 5, really, haven't they?
Yeah.
I know some of them, sometimes Stones will go in midfield, Diaz will go, Nathan Ake can play at left back or whatever. Yeah. But they've got 5 centre-backs who are all top draw. Yeah. If we had the 4 centre-backs I've mentioned, I think they're all capable of winning a title. Yeah. Even Victor Lindelof, people might laugh at me. I think him coming in and playing games for Manchester United, he does a good job. So I think actually, if you had Kim Min-jae, Victor Lindelof, Rafael Varane and Lisandro Martinez, I think you'd be laughing.
And also, when we talk about what is a priority, if you look at the amount of times that Martinez and Varane as a partnership has been interrupted or not available this season, between them, Lindelof and Maguire have played 60 games this season, 60 appearances for Man United. So it's very, very common that one or both of those two centre-backs either aren't available, need subbing off, or we want to be able to sub them off, you want to be able to rest them. 60 appearances for those two, that's pretty much every game. Every game, one or both of Maguire and Lindelof have played some part, pretty much, if you look at the numbers. So we do, if Maguire leaves and Lindelof is deemed to be of a sort of slightly substandard quality, we definitely need a centre-back as a priority.
Jets Dead Baby said Jay didn't even mention Maguire, lol. I think Maguire's going.
Yeah, I think everyone.
That's why I've not mentioned him. I don't think he's up to it, and I think he's going to go anyway.
And another thing as well, when you look at centre-backs, you look at the way what Man City have done and what Pep's done at City over the last 7 or 8 years. The amount of centre-backs he's bought, like you said, you've listed those 5 there: Akanji, Ake, Diaz, Laporte, and Stones. They're the ones that are there now. But then you had, obviously, Company didn't buy him, but he was a big part of things. You've had Otamendi, you've had Di Michaelis, you've had loads, 3 or 4 others as well that have come to, like, you're looking at sort of close to a dozen centre-backs in the last 6 years, either brought in or moved on, or, it's not like we've just stuck with them for 5 years. There's always someone else coming in, refreshing, more than almost any other position. I know they've had a few different strikers, but it was Aguero and Jesus for a long time, and then now we've seen Haaland and Alvarez. But other than that, it's basically been relatively set in a lot of positions. Kyle Walker's been there the whole time. De Bruyne's been there the whole time. Sterling's come and gone, but other than, like, Foden's been there for 6 years now. He's won 5 times. Like, a lot of them are stuck, stiff positions. The centre-back position has been constantly updated and upgraded. So I think it is a massively crucial part, especially if you want to keep possession high up the pitch. Centre-backs are so important to that. So I think pretty much every season, you're looking at getting a new centre-back in. City had the best team in the league and bought 2 centre-backs last summer. 1 centre-back, and I think Ake was injured a lot of last year, wasn't he? So essentially, they've had the fitness and the new signing of 2 centre-backs. Like, United aren't near them. One of our centre-backs is old enough and sort of physically weary enough to have had to retire from international football at 30 with Varane, and the other one is excellent up-and-coming player. Our captain is leaving. I think we definitely need a centre-back.
No, and this kid, like you say, Kim and Jake, seems to fit the bill in a lot of ways as well. Jimmy F, who's been a member of the academy for 28 months, says,
Go on, Jimmy.
If we finish the season with Carabao and FA Cup, I want a parade like the Scousers did last season with the same cups. They did, didn't they? They had a parade with the League Cup and the FA Cup.
Because they had to book it in before the Champions League final, didn't
Really?
they, with the council?
When I was a kid, though, I remember going to a parade just for the FA Cup when I was a kid.
Would you do one?
I wouldn't.
No.
I mean, also, if we have one, City will have one.
Yeah.
They will.
They'll probably do it on like the day before, so ours gets cancelled because there's all cups everywhere. All like plastic.
It still annoys me we didn't have a parade in 2008.
I know.
That's because the Rangers fans that in the UEFA Cup final wrecking a gaff. So GMP, who most of them.
Here's a good idea.
Like, let's stop
Man United fans having a parade because of fans from a club that aren't even in Manchester. That's a good idea. That makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? How about stop Rangers having a parade next time they win something rather than stopping United? That's great.
So annoying, because that would have been amazing, because the 99 parade was
Who were they
great.
playing in the final that year? Do you remember?
I think it was a Russian team. I can't remember. One of the Russians.
Sorry to just put you in that spot.
I think it might be
real
Zenit St.
pass.
Petersburg, if memory serves.
And Zenit won.
Yes, it was Zenit St. Petersburg, and they won 2-0.
And there's some trouble.
And that was at the City of Manchester Stadium.
See, so if anything, ban City.
Exactly. And
ban City's parade, not ours.
Because
even
of
Old
all
Trafford.
Chavs, we didn't get to have our parade.
I love that. Just were they chavs?
Wrecking the city centre, I'd say so.
Nasty.
Yeah, no need for it.
Troublesome.
Troublesome. No one likes that. If you're going to enjoy yourself and have it, or if you're going to show you're angry after a football game, just do it politely.
Yeah. Next up, Aaron Wan-Bissaka to West Ham. Interesting here. This is from the Daily Mail again. David Moyes targets Man United fullback Aaron Wan-Bissaka to strengthen West Ham's defence. He's made 32 appearances for United this season, including 18 in the Premier League. This is from the Daily Mail. Two things. Firstly, we did a tweet, I don't know if it was today or yesterday, recently, asking people to rank and rate Aaron Wan-Bissaka's season out of 10.
Yep.
I don't have the official figures because it was just in the comments but I saw a lot of 8s. I saw a lot of 8 out of 10s. A lot of people saying started off as a 4, ended up as an 8. It's lots of 6s, 7s and 8s. Very little 5s and 4s and 3s. I think it's relatively, certainly from our viewers, sort of asserted that Wan-Bissaka's had a good season. And yet, start of the year, he looked almost certain to be sold. What do you make of this? Would you be up for him leaving? Do you think we can improve on him? Has the second half of the year clouded his performances in the first half? What do you make of this situation?
I'd be up for him staying, mate.
Would you?
I think he's a talented defender, and I think that he has improved under Ten Hag. And I've criticised him in the past because I think, especially at the far post, leaving his man. He's guilty of that so many times, and he's still done it a couple of times this season. But I think in terms of his tackling, his defensive work, on the whole, it's better. Mm-hmm. And I think that if he can continue to progress under Ten Hag, if Ten Hag can get a sort of a decent spell out of him that continues and continues and continues, and he can work with him and he can improve the attacking elements of his game and get him to fit into the system a bit more ideally, then there's a player there. And I just think we might regret this, especially if we had unlimited budget and we could go and bring in 7 or 8 players, or whatever, or 5 or 6 players. Then you probably would go, right, get a right back in, or get rid of both the right backs and bring in maybe 2 more or whatever. But I think you've got to keep at least one of them. So I wouldn't be against keeping Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I actually don't think right back is a massive priority for us.
No.
I think we've got to sort out, I know it's obvious and everyone will agree. Well, not everyone will agree, but a lot of people already know this. We have got to sort out our attack, and we need another DM more than we need a right back.
I agree.
If Casemiro gets suspended for another 8 games next season, we can't be relying on McTominay or Fred.
No. Well, if we lose Casemiro for 8 games, we will drop out of whatever competitions take place during those 8 games.
Yeah.
Like, just genuinely, especially if we're in the Champions League.
It's terrible.
If we're in the Champions League and we had to play a sort of round of 16 against, pick a name, Porto, we would probably lose it if Casemiro wasn't playing.
I know it's unlikely he's going to get another 8-game suspension or over the course of the season or whatever. He probably won't. But if he is missing, he is 31. If he does get a knock or if he does get a suspension, which isn't beyond the realms of possibility, you need a DM to come in who can do a very good job. And we don't have that at the minute.
No.
You have to move things around and you have to try one of McTominay or Fred, who we know aren't really at the levels that we need them to be in that position.
No.
I don't think Zidane Iqbal or someone like that comes in. I don't think they're anywhere
He's not that
near.
type of player
he's not
either.
that type of player, and he's
Yeah.
not had any games this season, so
No.
he's highly unlikely he's going to become the DM for Manchester United next season. So I think you need someone who can come in and at least play sort of 15, 20 games next season.
Yeah.
So that would be my priority, along with 2 strikers
Yeah.
and possibly a goalkeeper.
To be
Those
fair-
4 positions I mentioned would all take precedent. 4 positions, 3 positions and 4 signings would all take precedent over a new right back for me.
Yeah, I agree. I said this the other day, but I think I'm not saying we will win the Premier League, but if that is the target for United over the next few years, which it should be, you can win a Premier League with a average right back. You can't win the Premier League with an average centre-back pairing or an average midfield or an average strike force. Like, maybe Liverpool had an average midfield, but their defence and strike force were both so good and their goalkeeper was so good. Like, I think you struggle to win the Premier League with an average goalkeeper.
I think as well, to be fair, Fabinho had a decent season for the Scousers when they won the league.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah, I think they that was his last really good season. I think he's been on a downward trajectory since then. But I get your point.
Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned it. Sorry, I was just looking at a comment. But Fabian Delph played left back for City when they won the league.
And Zinchenko has won 2 or 3 titles there, and he's a good left back.
He's not,
but
amazing.
not much more than that.
No, you make a good point, and I think that United could do that with Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I'm not saying he's the best right back in the league. He's not, but he's not the worst.
No.
And he's certainly not to the point where he would cost you a title. I think if we had a strong enough team and you had Aaron Wan-Bissaka, or maybe it was Deleuze for some games as well, because Deleuze's putting good performances for Manchester United. I know he gets a lot of stick, but he has. Then that could work, especially if you don't have the budget and the scope to make as many signings as you want.
Definitely.
It's just one of those.
Next up then, Martial to Villa. Some rumours going around that Villa are looking for a potential loan move for Martial. Loan? Why? Does that make any sense to you?
Not really. You'd have thought it would have been a permanent move. I don't get the thinking there.
What do United get out of that?
I think the problem is his injury record.
Right.
I think they're maybe looking and going, the kid's played a quarter of the season this season. Are we just going to give you a load of money and take a punt on him? Probably not.
Yeah. With an option
Is
to
that
buy
good
is
enough
one
for
of the
United,
suggestions.
We need money now, though, don't we? I mean, it gets him off the wage bill, and he is on big money. I think he's on about 200k, 250k a week. So there's over the course of a season, about 12, 15, what is it?
Yeah,
so
12.
a million a month, so that's 12 million quid. That's not enough, though, is it? You want some money. And I think Martial, you can still get money for him. I think you could probably get, 15 to 20 million for him.
I think that's a lot. But yeah, so I think definitely north of 10. Like, you're looking at money.
A 27-year-old striker who has scored lots of goals in the Premier League over his career. I think you get decent money for him.
Yeah.
And if you watch him, he's kind of an exciting player to watch as well. You know, like the eye test, when he's up for it, there's times when you look at him, you go, what are you doing? But he can be one of those players you think, that's a little bit of magic for Martial there. He's got it in him. And as a coach, you might look at that and go, I can get that out of him.
Yeah.
I can get the 20 goals a season out of Andy Martial. I can get him being a threat for us. Kind of makes sense if they went for him.
You look at Callum Wilson this season.
United.
What is it, 18 Premier League goals he's got for Newcastle? And you think, no offence to Callum Wilson, but I think there's a better player in Martial than there is in Callum Wilson. Do you know what I mean? I would consider Martial to be a better player than him. And yet he's massively outscored Martial this season. He's had an excellent season. I think there's certainly an equivalent season in Martial to the one Callum Wilson's had this year. Do you know what I mean? Like, quality-wise, I would say Martial's, like you said, on his day, a better player. So I think there's, possibility a manager looks at him and goes, if Callum Wilson can get 18 Premier League goals, this guy here is not good enough for Man United, but has got something about him, 22 goals in the past in the season. I could do the same with him, and that is probably worth 15 million quid to someone.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. I think if it was any other position, you wouldn't be looking at him. But because it's a striker, I think with strikers, and strikers who have historically in the past had seasons where they've scored goals, there's always that attraction there. There's always that part of think that clubs go, could be something there.
Yeah.
We need goals. He could be that guy. Because it's so hard.
Yeah, because most teams, you look at them and you think, well, 22 goals 3 years ago isn't great. But there aren't many Premier League strikers who have ever got 22 goals in a season. Like, people think that a striker gets 20 to 25 goals a year. No, they don't. Most strikers in the Premier League get 10 to 12 goals a season.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it just feels like, oh, you should be getting 20 goals a season if you're a striker. That just isn't the case. Most top-level strikers who have a full professional career will score a goal every 4 or 5 games. Like, maybe 1 in 3 if you're pretty good, 1 in 2 if you're excellent, and if you're above 1 in 2, you're in that real elite category. But most strikers, genuinely, look it up. Look at someone who you consider to be a good striker, they're probably getting 1 in 4, 1 in 5. Like, I think if Martial can do that, which we know he's capable of on his day, then, you know...
There's a lot of strikers. I'm just looking at it now.
Yeah.
People you'd say are strikers. You might argue that some of these are attackers. Alexander Isak at Newcastle, 10 Premier League goals.
Yeah.
Firmino.
And he's had a good season. I know he's been injured for spells, but he's performed well when he's played, and it's 10 goals, which is all right.
Firmino, 10 goals. I know he's not an out-and-out goal scorer. Jesus, I know he had injuries, 10 goals.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look if there's any. Son, I know again he's not an out-and-out striker. He plays on the left, but he's a goal scorer, 10.
Yeah.
Easy for Crystal Palace. He's had a bit of a renaissance. 10. Alvarez for City. I know he doesn't start. 9. Nunes for City. For Liverpool, sorry. 9.
Yeah.
So you're right.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah.
10 double figures in the Premier League is usually considered a decent return.
Yeah.
In Premier League goals. So if let's say for example Martial goes there and gets 10 goals next season or 12 goals next season, Ollie Watkins weighs in with another 15. Probably happy with that.
Yeah.
Villa. If you've got
you can challenge for Europe with 2 strikers getting you 10 plus goals.
Yeah. So it can be. I think for United though, the real concern there is the loan. I'm not into loans.
Yeah.
But what do you do with players that are just constantly injured? I think
we're not in a great bargaining
position. Clubs are
position
going to be looking
here,
for some sort of insurance policy.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, then
Yes.
go on. Wally of the week.
I mean, Wally don't really cover it, but the situation in La Liga with what was going on with Vinicius Junior yesterday, was it Valencia that they were playing?
Yeah.
The sort of racist chanting that was going on from the crowd, and then the response from, you know, the president of the Liga, I think it was, and some of the local media talking about him being a provocateur and how he's unlikable and all these sorts of things as a way to excuse fans en masse chanting racist chants toward a football player is just horrendous. I mean, obviously Wally is a slightly light-hearted phrase, and this couldn't be more serious. But I just think it's unbelievable that there is ever this, oh, well, you know, some people were chanting this other word which means something else. But, you know, like people in the press conferences, I think Carl Anker tweeted about it earlier today, saying one of the journalists in the press conference after the game was trying to make the point that, well, not everyone was chanting monkey at him. Some people were saying something else that sounds similar, but you can hear it, you watch it, you can see it. Everyone saw what happened. The players hated it. Their own team's players hated it. Like, it wasn't up for debate in the moment in the stadium. So don't come at me with all this, well, some people weren't doing it, fucking bullshit. That is no excuse for anything. And I think we say it every time, but I don't understand how every time there are these incidences, whether it be in England or in Italy or when people are playing internationally or in Spain as it was last night, that there are still a significant portion of people who go, well, you know, he shouldn't have done this. Fuck off.
Yeah.
With just this victim blaming bullshit. If you are racially abusing someone, there is no excuse for that. And people and players need to be given the support and say, if I was a manager or managers or whoever, the FA, everyone need to say, if this happens and you walk off, you will not face any punishment. And the team's fans who did it will have to play behind closed doors, will take huge fines, because I know it's not the club's fault, but there's no other real way to stop it other than to say to the fans, if you do this, your team will be hurt by it. Because there's no other incentive to people. So the punishments have to be harsher, consistently harsher, and I think this whole thing of, well, not everyone, fuck off, it's absolute bullshit.
I completely agree, and equally infuriating was the response from the president of La Liga, Javier Tebas Medrano. He said, he sort of quoted Vinicius Junior speaking about it on Twitter, and he said, this is what the president dude Medrano said. Since those who should not explain to you what it is and what it can do this is going through translative, it's a little bit broken English. La Liga, in cases of racism, we have tried to explain it to you, meaning Vinicius Jr., but you have not shown up for either of the 2 agreed dates that you requested yourself. Before criticising and insulting La Liga, it is necessary that you inform yourself properly, Vinicius Jr. Do not let yourself be manipulated and make sure you fully understand each other's competencies and the work we have been doing together. So it's almost victim blaming there.
Great, yeah.
It's like,
really coming off with the defensive there. Like, well, you think we're bad? He ain't even turned up. So what?
No, why should he turn up if he thinks you're not going to do anything anyway?
That's
stupid. Irrelevant.
Yeah, absolutely irrelevant.
You need to get a grip of what's good. I agree with you. Listen, I'm not using one for saying ban fans and do that, but when it comes to that kind of thing, of course you should. You saw it. There was the guy doing the monkey stuff towards Fred.
Yeah.
And he got banned, and it annoyed me when everyone was saying, "Oh, well done, City." What do you mean, well done? That's the minimum you do. Ban him for life.
Yeah.
You should be set foot in the stadium. And I think that you're talking there about a scenario where clubs will get punished, and that would cause fans, if they saw fans doing that, to say, "Don't do that. Pat that in." Yeah. You've kind of got that in England anyway. Not everywhere. Believe me, I'm the last person that's going to tell you racism doesn't exist at football games in England, but I do think it isn't accepted. I've got a lot of football games home and away, and especially at Old Trafford. I think by and large, if you see someone being racist, you're going to get someone kicking
someone
off
will
them.
say something
someone
about
saying,
it, usually.
Yeah, what are you doing? Pat that in,
and
I'm being kind there. It's probably going to be a lot worse than that. They might end up getting the jaw snapped. And I think that is the sort of attitude we have in this country, certainly at United, towards people being racist. There was some sort of stat where it said a lot of people, or more people, have been arrested at Old Trafford for racism than any other ground. And I thought, I don't consider Old Trafford a particularly racist ground. I think a lot of that is people grassing them up. And I don't blame you for grassing up racists. I don't. Saying, no, I'm not having that. I get it. I think in Spain, from what we gather, it's kind of accepted. Where if the guy next to you is being racist, the chances are you're joining in with him or not saying anything. And I think you need to sort of encourage people to put the foot down and say, no, we're not going to have that. And if it is punishing the club, or if it is teams walking off, we saw it with the England team once, didn't they, when they walked off. I think Carlo Ancelotti spoke about after the game and he said we should have just walked off. Then I'm all for it. I don't like seeing football getting stopped. I don't like seeing fans that haven't done anything wrong being punished. But if that's what it's going to take, they need to do something, because you can't have thousands of people chanting monkey or whatever towards black people. You just can't have that.
No.
It's just unacceptable. And to be honest with you, they're even thicker than they look, because all they're doing is harming their own league. Yeah. That league already is playing catch-up with the Premier League. You can't afford, to lose the likes of Vinicius Jr. and players like that. You can't afford for players to look at Spanish La Liga and go, don't want to go there because it's racist. That's going to hurt your league. Yeah. It's not going to make it better. It'll make it worse. So they need to get a grip of it. So my worry would be this President Madonna, whatever his name is, because he's just an absolute nana. Thanks to everyone who got involved in the comments and the chat. Sorry, just quickly before we wrap up, don't know if I read this one. Pratish in the super chat says, if we get neither Kane or Osimhen, then who do you go for? That's the $64,000 question. Quickly, Joe, any ideas?
If it's not those two, don't know. Someone who's guaranteed goals that it would be remotely available that isn't them? I don't know. I can't think of any. Genuinely can't. Can you think of a striker that's... I mean, I know Osimhen's not guaranteed goals, but he's a goal scorer. He's got 20 plus this season. I mean...
I think you'd have to go for
who is it?
A bit of a stopgap or something. Maybe get... I know it's not great, but someone like Mitrovic or someone like that. Just a stopgap.
Yeah,
I think someone who comes in for at least a season. Yeah. Who can get you goals, because you can't rely on Martial or Wout Weghorst, and that doesn't work for me. Again, I'm not saying we should go out and buy Alexander Mitrovic. I'll have to have a think and come up with better. I'm just saying
the options are very limited.
Get you goals in the meantime.
Yeah.
Joe, where can people find you?
Sloppy Joe's podcast on Instagram, Twitter and YouTube. Make sure you check that out.
Very funny podcast. You know where to find me as well, so make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. Big thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring this podcast as well. Go and check out the link in the description using the code, is it Devils20?
Correct.
Devils20 there. If you get 20% off and free shipping. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. This has been the Paddock Podcast. Thanks for watching.